Hey family, addict named Billy P. Good afternoon. Down here now we're on Detroit, and you know my last move that I did when I came back to Flint after moving from a bunch of states is I said I know what my problem is. It's Flint, and I'm gonna leave, and I've had one more move, so I'm gonna move to Detroit. And that's why we call it dope. If the best thing that you do is move to Detroit, you got problems. And when I come down here to Detroit, I end up living in a tent in the alleys of Detroit. And here's my process. This is what happened. After I left out of the first house that I was at, this disease of addiction took me over to here. And when I got over here, I ended up living in a tent. And this back here's, we can't see it. I'm not walking back there today because I don't have to. However, behind me, that's the alley in Detroit that I was living in a tent with my girlfriend. I couldn't quit smoking crack. I could not kick this disease of addiction. And then, you know, here in Michigan, it gets cold. People say, oh my God, dude, you lived in a tent. Well, listen, dude, we only lived in a tent when the elements would let us live in the tent. And then we said, well, you know, it's getting cold. We're not going to be able to stay out here long. And we get out of that tent. And when we got out of that tent, we stayed right here on Minnock Street. And we went over 2 whole houses. And at that point, we graduated from the tent, and we ended up living in the top half of that house behind me, which was a dope house. And the guy that lived downstairs, he was telling society that he was taking care of his mother. In reality, he wasn't. He was just a messed up crackhead like me was, and like my wife was. And we were staying up at the top of that dope house. Renting from the dope house, that didn't work out all that great. And because of some confrontations, we ended up leaving. And when we left, we, once again, here still on Minnock Street, we end up coming over here. And this house that's behind me, and it's the only one that still looks like people are living there. And it would be this one over here. We rented this one. And when we rented this house there, we ended up bringing Cain into this world, and we got married, and then when we left that house, we said, you know what, dude, we're done with this renting houses. And we bought our first home, and the first home that me and my wife bought, and active addiction, is the one right behind me. Isn't that something, dude? From the tent to the dope house to renting a house to owning this one behind us. And it took what it took, but I finally was able to give away this house to the disease of addiction. I think it's great. People are like, oh, I lost my house. Listen, shut up. You didn't lose it. Look, the address is still 6050 Minnock Street. That's the same address that I gave away to the dope man to this disease of addiction. I didn't lose it. I gave it away. Pay the house payment or stay in the house in the basement doing what you're doing. Well, imagine this. I stayed in there until I finally gave it away. This is where we ended up packing up and going to Grand Blanc, Michigan. Started my process of recovery. Ain't that something? We were over there. Then we were over here. Then we were over here. Then we bought this house. All here on Minnock Street. We come down here today after speaking at a recovery show, recovery radio in Redford. Me and Brian come down here. I tell you something, dude, this neighborhood, it's horrible. It's worse than I've ever seen it before. I'm hoping I got one guy who still lives around here. I don't know if he's going to answer the door, and I don't even know if he's even still alive, but we are going to check it out. Just to let you know that people say, oh, it's getting better. Listen, I drive down this neighborhood today. It's not getting better. Detroit police got the ice cream man pulled over there on Minnock and Warren Avenue, and they looked like they were about ready to start fellowshipping. And it's not getting better, man. It's getting worse. More houses are being abandoned. More houses are people are squatting in. People are catching them on fire. When is enough going to be enough? I know this. Today, what I just showed you in this short process here in Detroit, That's why this recovering carpet farmer, this retired carpet farmer, that's why I have an attitude of gratitude. I don't have to live in the alleys. I don't have to live in a tent. I don't have to rent nothing from the dope man. I don't even have to rent a house today. And I don't own a house in Detroit anymore. And I'm extremely grateful for that. And I owe all of that to the process of recovery and a God that never gave up on me, even though I gave up on him. I love you. I'm out of here.